Hey guys, and welcome back to today's video. We're going to be doing the first episode of a new series. This new series is basically where you guys can send us your photos that you have taken. We will edit them in our video, give you any pointers, any tips, show you how to color grade them in Lightroom. We'll send that photo back to you and then you can upload it to your Instagram. Now, if you're interested in entering this and you want to be featured in one of our videos, it's very simple. All you need to do is make sure you're following us on Instagram. The links will be down below in the description. You then need to just send us a direct message on Instagram with a screenshot of the photo you are wanting to submit for us to color grade. We will then go through all of the messages we get on Instagram and we will choose one every week or every 2 weeks depending on how much time and work we've got on, and we will color grade that in the video, obviously crediting your Instagram, and that's how you can do it. If you have any other video ideas and things like that you want to see, just leave a comment down below. Make sure you like this video for any other things you want to see. Okay, so before we get into today's color grade of someone's photo, I just wanted to mention really quickly, if you guys wanted to purchase a preset of one of the color grades we've done in any of these videos, or we are now selling preset packs, it will be for sale through our Instagram. So if you want to purchase one, again, send us a direct message on Instagram. Our Instagrams are down below in the description. Also follow us on Twitter as well. Let's get straight into today's video. Okay, so this is the photo we are going to be editing today. This is hopefully what we're going to try and get at the end. So this is the after, and this is what we are working with to start off with. So today we're going to be doing a color grade based on the Instagrammer Sam Kolder, and we're also going to be basing it on the Instagrammer Jacob Wrigley. You can see both of them have these very nice tropical tones, teals and oranges. We have done a tutorial in the past on how to edit like Sam Kolder. This one is not going to be a direct how to edit like. It's more of this is the style we're going to be editing in. We're going to be going for those teal and orange warm tropical tones like that. Okay, so this photo was submitted to us by this Instagrammer called Leon Parker. I'm very sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Just go check her out. I will leave her Instagram link down below in the description. But as you can see, she does do some very nice photos on her Instagram. So just definitely make sure you go check her out. She's got some really cool stuff going on there. Okay, so I'm just going to reset the image and we're going to start from scratch. So the first thing we want to do is head to our basic slider in the develop module. And I would say just basically we want to make sure we lift up those shadows so we can see an awful lot more of the foreground. Now, for those of you who are wondering, this photo was taken on the Sony A7R Mark II. She did say she couldn't remember whether it was a 35 or 50mm Zeiss lens. So I've just brought down the highlights here to -24 just so we can see a little bit more of the sky. The shadows are brought up to +76. Now the next thing I'm going to do is mess around with temperature. Now you can do one of two things. One, make it a lot warmer because it's evening tones, or you can make it colder. I'm going to drop it down to about 4,500. 4,700. Okay, so now we've done that, I'm just going to mess around here. I'm going to bring up the whites ever so slightly to +20, and I'm going to drop the blacks as well. I like to drop the blacks quite a bit. We're going to put it down to about -40, just because I like those nice solid harsh blacks. We are, however, going to drop down the contrast to -10, -20, around there, and you'll see why in a minute. Now we can mess around with the tint slider if you want. I'm going to put a little bit more magenta into it, +8 will probably do. The last thing I like to do with the basic slider is bring up the vibrance to about +30, and then I like to drop down the saturation to about -25. Just to even it out a lot more. You can see if I press the backslash key, that's the before, that's the after. Already this image is coming together nicely. Now the next thing I do is head over to the tone curve. We're going to do my nice simple basic S fade curve, which involves us bringing out the highlights there, dropping down the shadows, and then just lifting up and fading out those shadows like that at the bottom. Not too much, we want to be able to still see enough detail in the image, and then dropping off the highlights there. You can see how much of a difference that the tone curve makes in doing a color grade. Now you can spend a lot more time on your tone curve. One thing that might be nice to do, depending on what your Instagram style is, I like to put a lot more blues in my images just simply because it fits in my theme a lot more. You can do something like come over to the blue channel and you can just lift up the amount of blues in the shadows ever so slightly. Now that we've done that, we can see the image is actually looking quite blue. So what I might do is come back up to the temperature slider and actually just make it a little bit warmer, up to about 4,900. Now bearing in mind, guys, you can come back and you can adjust these colors as you will as you go on. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to jump down to camera calibration. I like doing this first because simply it is a slider that most people forget in their color grades and they sort of disregard it. This one can really have a massive effect on your colors. Now if you're going for a teal and orange color grade like Sam Kolder, you see here he's got very nice oranges in his image, and he's also got the very nice teal greens here. If you come down to your camera calibration slider, you get your red primary and you bring it up. Usually I only do it about halfway, depending on how many oranges and blues I've got on the image. Now you can see at the moment this is giving us some weird colours like yellows and blues and greens. That's not exactly what we're focusing for. So to fix that, you now want to come down to the blue primary and you want to drop that down to about -50 as well. So you can see automatically already we've got the nice teal and orange effect going on. If I turn that off and I turn it back on, how much of a difference that makes. Now you can then adjust the exposures, the saturation individually. For each, I'm going to drop down the blue a little bit. I'm going to leave it there for the time being. Okay, so once we've done that, we're going to head back up to the HSL slider. I'm not really going to do an awful lot with each of these colours. I'm going to drop the reds down to about -33. The aquas and blues, I'm going to drop the blues down a bit more just to bring a bit more teal back into the image. And then I'm going to lift up the aquas just to take it back off ever so slightly. Okay, the next slider is saturation. Come over and, for example, bring up the reds, maybe bring up the oranges as well. Now I am going to drop the saturation of the blues down to about -22 and also of the aquas down to about -10, simply because I think they're quite overbearing colours and I don't want it to look too obvious that it's kind of fake colours. Next thing is the luminance sliders. Again, really you don't want to do too much on these, but this is just changing the brightness of each individual colour. So you can see here all the reds will be made brighter, so I'm going to drag that up to about +30. The oranges, I'm going to drag that up as well to about +24, just so you can see a bit more light on the front of her, because obviously the light is coming from over here. The yellows, I'm going to drag those up as well. The blues, I'm going to drag those up. Okay, so I think we're basically done now with the HSL slider. So I'm going to scroll up, just close that, and you can see the difference it makes if I turn that off and if I turn it on again. Okay, the next thing is split toning. What it does is it can allow us to put a certain colour in the highlights and a certain colour in the shadows. So if you head over to your keyboard and press Option or Alt and you just drag this hue slider, you can see the colours it's going to add to your highlights. So what you want to do is just select a colour that you think fits for your highlights. I'm going to go for around 25 just because I think it's quite nice for the evening times, and then I'm going to get the saturation slider and just drag that up to about +8. And with the shadows, press Option or Alt, drag the hue slider and just select a colour that you like, and then just bring up the saturation, and you can see the difference that the split toning makes to your photo. It's very subtle, but it does make a difference. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is effects. Now this is all down to personal preference. I'm going to put a bit of vignette on the image down to -18 and just push the feather up to about 78. You can see all that really does is focus our eyes towards the subject of the image. Okay, the next thing I like to do with these sorts of images, actually I am going to bring up the shadows just a touch more in this photo just because I think it's a little bit dark. Okay, so if we look at a quick before and after, if you press the / key, that's before and that is after. You can see it's a really nice looking color grade coming along. Okay, the next thing I like to do is come over to the brush tool, and I always like to do when you've got someone with hair with highlights in from the sunset or the sunrise, I always like to accentuate those highlights with the brush tool. What we're going to do is find the natural highlights in her hair, and then we're just going to paint over those with the exposure brush. All we're going to do is just come along here and we're just going to paint on those highlights a little bit more. Now if you do find you've painted somewhere that you don't want, if you press the Option or Alt key, you can always just brush and remove what you've just done. Once we've done that, we're just going to come over, click on Fit just to zoom out again, and you can get an idea of what the image looks like. So if we turn that off and on again, that is the difference that the highlights have made. Okay, so I'm happy with this color grade. If you guys kind of like what we've done here, this is obviously the after. If I press the / key, you can see what the image looked like before. So this is obviously the power of Lightroom and how much that can affect your image. Now obviously if you had more time, you can spend more time on this, doing things like using graduated filters on the top and bottom of the image just to focus the eye a little bit more. Other than that, I wouldn't really say there's a lot more you could do to this image. You don't want to overdo your color grades. Now, with this series, the idea is we're going to give you guys pointers on things like composition and everything around that. With regards to this image, I don't have anything I want to say about the composition. Personally, love how this image has been taken. The only thing I would say is maybe if you do it again, you can either Photoshop out these bags or you could just remove them. It kind of draws your eye a bit of attention towards these colours over here. Other than that, there's nothing I would change. One thing I will mention, if you guys are wanting to post to Instagram, one little tip from me, it's always nice to post portrait photos, just simply because it takes up more room on the Instagram feed. So you can't really crop, unless you put this in Photoshop, you can't really crop it to a portrait photo, but it will still look and still work quite nicely. So that's just one thing you might want to think about when you're taking your photos. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, if you've done a color grade like this, what you might want to do is save this as a preset so you can use it on your future images. Okay, so the way that's done is you head over to this presets part here on the develop module and just click on the plus. I'm going to call it orange and teal 2, simply because I've done a few of these. And then you just literally just click on create. So all you need to do now is, if you've got another image, we're going to use one of the other images that Leon sent us, and that is this image here. And again, this image is going to work quite well with the orange and teal color grade. So all you need to do is then just click on your orange and teal 2 preset, and it will apply that to your image. Okay, so that's now applied onto this, and then so if we show you the before by pressing the backslash key, and that's the after, it's applied it quite nicely, and it does work again on this image. So you can see that your presets will work on multiple images, provided it is taken with similar in a similar location. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you guys want to be featured in one of these videos, like I mentioned at the beginning, just follow the rules in the description. I will leave it written all down below, and we will send you back the photo that you guys can then post and do what you want with on your Instagram. I hope this video was useful to you guys. I hope you guys learnt some stuff, but we will see you in the next video. In the meantime, don't forget to live long and prosper.